Alright. Sorry about that. I had to go to the bathroom, but I'm better now. Okay. Now, that first portion talking about Wonder Woman. Now we're talking about a completely different character. I have talked about this character before when I talk about him in other books. But I've never talked about a solo book, and you're probably thinking, okay, who am I talking about here? Batwing! And you're thinking, is that Luke Fox in the cover? No, this is not Luke Fox. This is the original Batwing, David Zabowie, who was the Batman of Congo. Yep. By the way, Batman does briefly appear in the opening issue. He appears in the opening story arc, per se. He's mostly here to establish, like, yeah, he works for Batman Inc. And the weird thing is, he was by far one of those very few one of the few characters who got brand new titles. Now, this character, believe it or not, is a Grant Morrison character. Now, this character was originally based upon a idea people had about Batman in issue 255, what he looked like. And Grant Morrison must have saw that and used inspiration for David Zabowie. And here's the weird thing about this guy. Is that, yes, you might think, is this his first appearance in this book? No. Not really. David Zabowie himself actually first appeared in Batman Inc. number 5 back in 2011, just before the relaunch. And the guy only appeared 3 times. He appeared in issues 5 and 6, Leviathan Strikes, and that was it for that version of the character. Yep, and they had this relaunch for the character. We had the relaunch of the universe, and he gets his own solo book. And now you're probably thinking, okay, who is the writer of this book? And this might surprise you given the fact that at the same time he was doing this book, he was doing Catwoman. Judd Winnick. Yep. Another series like about from him, which makes this like, oh my gosh. I think I pretty much with this one discussed, like, once I finished discussing this one, like, I would have pretty much discussed almost everything he's done for DC. Mostly, yes. I would say, yeah, I've discussed most of his era for DC. Because this is another one of those series. I've discussed his Superman stuff he did, which wasn't very much. I've discussed all his Batman issues he did. Batman and Robin, Detective Comics. Mostly it's a lot of his Bat stuff and a little bit of Superman stuff I've discussed. And of course, I have discussed his Checkmate issues. Yes. A little bit of his Outsiders run. And that's mostly it. I haven't discussed everything for this guy, but I would love to. I've discussed a little bit of his run for Titans, which wasn't very long. It's like 10 issues. And then he gets replaced by a brand new writer with issue number 11, with that's Shava Keever. Yep. Now, these opening issues does talk about David Zabowie mostly, but they also mention this whole group of superheroes who operated in Congo. They're called the Kingdom. And they were around for 5 years until they disbanded due to a controversy, which involves the death of 1,000 people. And you have 2 villains out of this run, Blood Tiger and Massacre. You're thinking, Massacre, isn't that a character from Marvel? Yes, except that this guy appeared around the same time as this one did. I think so anyways, because I remember he showed up just after, I think it was like the whole thing when he got that bulletproof armor. Yeah, he popped up a few times, and Massacre, as far as I can tell, is dead. He got killed by the Doctor Octopus possessed Spider-Man being shot in the head after a couple issues of the Spirit of Spider-Man book, the original one, not the Christmas Cage, which was really good. Yeah, it's kind of weird though. We have 2 characters with a very similar name. Who this guy is not really explained until a little bit later on. Also, I should point out that for Winnick, he only does the first 14 issues of this era for Batwing, because the reading issue is done by somebody else. Why? I'll get there. And mostly put Batwing investigating these murders. We'll also deal with the politics of Congo. Yes. That's most of what he does, and he operates out of a tower. Yes, and he has a version of Alpha worker who appears throughout this whole run. And his name is... What is his name? Matsuboa. Who kind of in a way is kind of like his version of Alfred, basically his eyes and ears. There's also a woman named Ketsuaru. A woman. Yep, a woman. And she didn't really appear a lot in this run. No, not really. Not at the start of it. She appeared a lot later on when this run was wrapping up, but not really. And of course, basically, we have him investigating the whole thing with the king. He works with Batman just for his opening story arc. And the first issue end with this guy called Massacre, which, by the way, that's him in his goofy looking attire. And he kills members of the kingdom. Just having wounded by this guy. Who the heck this guy really is? Well, yeah, I love his little thing where he beats up, like, who are you? Like, I'm Massacre. You're the guy with electric powers. Yeah, mostly deal with a lot of stuff related to stuff in Africa. Which you have teenage rebels. No, seriously. Yeah. And, one thing I should point out, though, about issue 1 for Batwing is we have a cameo by somebody who appeared in all number 1s except for Earth 2 number 1. You want to know who it is? Pandora. Yep, Pandora. Yeah, she makes a cameo here. Now you're probably thinking, why the heck does she appear here? The answer is basically just establish the fact it's the new 52 era. So let's have her pop up in like every single freaking book. All number 1s. And that was planned for also second wave number 1s, but it doesn't really go very far. Issue 2 debuts a character. Now, there's members of the kingdom who make the appearance of this opening story arc. Now, the first one they have here is Earthstrike. And he gets killed off in the opening issue by Massacre. And then you have Thunderfall, who also gets killed by Massacre in the opening story arc. Yep. And then you have Dawnfire. Yeah, apparently Massacre killed all members of the kingdom. Now, who he is... Yeah, that's not explained later. So... At the fight, you have members of the kingdom. Well, fighting with members of the kingdom against Massacre. Issue 3 is basically Batwing's backstory. Yeah. Yeah, by the way, Massacre is actually Batwing's brother. Yeah, and when he's a secret identity, he's a cop for the Congo Police Department. Yeah, and then of course he works with Batman and Robin to take down the organization that Massacre runs. Yeah, we slowly start getting the end of this with issue 8. And of course he teams up, brings a couple allies, then brings to help David Zabowie take down Massacre. He brings in Nightwing and Robin. Yep. That's kind of what he does in the opening story of this book. You could say it's mostly a lot of world building with this one, just establishing the character, but mostly put by the very next trade. We're wrapping up the first story of the series. Yep. Now, shockingly, David Zabot would not stay in the book very long, per se. When does he leave? I'll talk about that when I talk about Volume 3 for this trade series. Yep. I'm going to give this opening trade, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. I like the artwork. Yes, the artwork is actually done by Ben Oliver mostly, with issue 4 done by Crisscross. Yep, and Ben Oliver and Brian Reber, who is the colorist, does the cover art. Yep, that's Brian Oliver's artwork. Yep. But yeah, that's going to be pretty much it for this particular review. I would do one more, but it's getting kind of late. I had to get up kind of early. Church for tomorrow. Yep, but I'm at least very happy that I got done a couple of anime tonight. So tomorrow maybe I'll finish these last couple up. Okay, next video. Bye.